Hey there and welcome back to Health, Wealth and Happiness. I'm James.
I'm Joe.
And today's guest is Vikas Arora, full-time expert at Microsoft and LinkedIn. From overcoming depression to hosting on the largest European stage with none other than Bob Proctor, it's a pleasure to have this man on in the hot seat. Vikas, it's great to have you on and learn about the secrets to your success. How are you, sir?
I'm great, thank you, James, Joe. Thank you both for having me on. Really honoured.
Pleasure.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's fantastic to have you on. Tell us a little bit more about you. I'm sure the guys are wondering as well. Who is Vikas?
I'm a father of three. Got three boys, 23, 18, and 17. 20 and 17. I hope I got that right. They're going to kill me later. I'm married to my college sweetheart now, just over 25 years. So we just recently celebrated our silver wedding anniversary in lockdown, which was actually quite nice. And I've been working in the corporate world now for, over 25 years with brands such as Ericsson, Vodafone, Barclays, Microsoft, and now LinkedIn. So that's a little bit about me. I also run two businesses on the side, so just thought I'd throw that in.
Casual, love it.
So what are the businesses that you
So one of them, what I'm going to tap into, which is what brought me close to Bob Proctor. I'm working actually with his in partnership with his wife, Linda Proctor, in a network marketing company. But also I just literally just over 5 months ago, officially kicked off my coaching business and mindset transformation. Something that I've been following for over 4.5 years now, and it's really helped me grow. And I felt that people my age, I'm coming close to 50. So, people my age are kind of core and looking at, what's next in life. So, so I've got a coaching business and a network marketing business, online marketing business.
Fantastic. So just going back here, you said with Microsoft and LinkedIn, firstly, that's how you got into that. How did you get into that? Where did it all start for you?
So it's a funny thing. So when I had a bit of an unstable, I would say, academic career, academic sort of journey. I came back, I was living in India in my teen years, came back to the UK when I was about 13, messed up my O-levels big time, as many people do at that time. They were O-levels then. So I was kind of the guinea pig.
James won't know what they are.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you that don't know what O-levels are.
Ask James, actually, Dad, he'll know what O-levels are.
Yeah. So I was the guinea pig for the GCSEs when they first came out, and then I kind of picked myself up and thought, I need to kind of get back into the rain after doing my degree. Graduated 2 years later than everyone else, but Microsoft at the time I was using the platform sort of in and out, Office 2000 and all 95, whatever it was at the time. God, way before your time, James. And the company stood out for me, right? Because everywhere I went, when I did my work experience, when I, my Saturday job, college, university, the brand stood in my face. I thought, I'd love to work for these guys. So when I graduated, I did a degree in financial services, but went into tech for some reason. Did the thing that every Indian would do, either become an accountant or a lawyer. Not that I wanted to. And went into tech with Ericsson. But I applied every year on September the 5th because, around graduation, that's kind of what you apply for all the intakes, right? I applied to Microsoft. I did that for about close to, I would say, 10 years.
Wow.
And then the 1 year I didn't do it, I actually fell ill. I got headhunted by Microsoft. So it kind of made me think, that's a bit weird. And I've been there now just over 15, I'm in my 15th year now.
Okay. So where did the connection come with Bob Proctor?
So about 6-7 years ago, my wife introduced The Secret to us. For those of you that haven't seen The Secret, Red Secret, Bob Proctor features preeminently in that. And for some reason, out of all the people, three people that stood out for me were Bob Proctor, Reverend Michael Beckwith, guy with the dreadlocks and the lovely sort of soft voice, and Lisa Nichols. And Bob was almost like, to me, I thought it was Colonel K on TV, without the beard. That's because he had the white suit on. So I remember getting up and saying to my family that I'm going to meet this guy one day. And I didn't know about the law of attraction. That was my first sort of introduction to the law of attraction was him. And I just put it out there that if I'm going to attract anything, I'm going to meet this guy one day. Little did I know that literally sort of 8 years later, I would be on stage with him, let alone, you know, kind of working with his wife. And that's how it happened. So I was introduced to a company called Zeta International by an Instagram friend. And she is a very close friend of Linda Proctor and Bob Proctor. And that's kind of the connection through. But yeah, so I've been on that path now for over 4.5 years.
Tell us about the story. You were telling me before we hopped on, I thought it was fascinating, when you actually met Bob's wife and it all came to fruition. How did it all play out?
So it's a funny thing. So, you know, having been in the network marketing business, I mean, this is my first dip into online marketing, you know, never done it before. So it's quite new to me. You know, I heard all the kind of, you know, all the stories about what it does. And I thought, you know what, more than anything for me, the turning point in my life, because obviously I was around 45, 46 at the time, so a bit of a midlife crisis, and questioning what I want to do, questioning what purpose do I have, you know, what am I here to do? And I came across this, you know, this lady, Marnie Kay, who introduced me to Linda. And it's funny, when I met Linda, it didn't click, even though her surname Proctor, it didn't click. It's like when you hear the word Smith, you don't really think that it could be someone famous. And it was only sort of 2 hours into this this kind of mindset. It was a closed mindset leadership group at a dojo in Nice. That when she said, "I'm the wife of Bob Proctor," and I was like, "Whoa!" I'm like, you know, one step away from Bob. And then 18 months later, so this is 2018, Christmas 2018, we had our first European event January last year in Frankfurt. And she phones me up and she said, literally her words were, "So, Vikas, are you coming to Frankfurt?" I went, "Yes, I am." She goes, "Right, okay, so a few things. When you're on stage with Bob," and I was like, "Sorry?"
Start again.
She goes, "What do you mean on stage with Bob?" She goes, "You are hosting the event, aren't you?" And I went, "Am I?" And she went, "Yes, you are." And then she just carried on. So when you're on stage with Bob, and it was phenomenal. I literally didn't listen to a word she said after that. Because this is the 23rd, and I went into the bedroom and said to my wife, "You know what just happened?" She goes, "Did you say you were on stage with Bob?" And I went, "Yeah." She went, "Bob Proctor?" And I went, "Yeah." She goes, "Are you sure?" I went, "Yes." And that's kind of how it started, and it was a phenomenal experience. I mean, he's you know, I've seen him, you know, YouTube videos and other bits and pieces, but this was me and him one-to-one having a laugh. I actually held. For those of you that know him, he carries around Think and Grow Rich, the original that he's had for the last, oh, God knows, 50 years. It's like held together with tape. And I actually held the book. He actually asked me to put more rubber band around it. So I actually put more rubber band around his book, which is pieced together with 4 or 5 of those thick industrial elastic bands. Phenomenal. And he carries that around. So there's a point during the event where I'm about to walk on stage, and he's basically bringing me on as the MC, and he held my hand. There's a photo of me on Facebook where I've got 1 foot on the stage and 1 foot off, and he's holding my hand, and he looks at me, and there's 1,000 people behind me, and he said, his words were, "I see in you what you cannot see. When you do see it, your life will be amazing." And those words just phenomenally changed my life. And when he looks at you, he looks into you. He never looks at you. He always looks into you, and that you can really feel it. And it changed that changed my life. That put me on my path to coaching. It gave more meaning to my purpose of being in the service of others.
So when you found yourself on that stage with Bob, in the moment, there and then, what are you thinking all those years back when you openly talk about it, when you were going through depression and everything else, and now you find yourself on the European stage? What are you thinking? How have you got from where you were to where you are now on the stage? What's that like?
It's funny because since that day, I have looked back at every event in my life that has happened and realized that was the law of attraction. That, you know, I started to believe in what at one point I thought was the mumbo jumbo that all these guys are talking about, bollocks. And so, if I can say that word first,
Don't say a lot worse. Don't worry about that.
But to many people, it is right. To many people, they don't really see it and think we're in the current challenging times that we have right now. We need to believe in it more so than ever. And when you look back, if I look back in my life, I actually think that I had to go through that. to get where I am today, you know, because I'm questioning, why did this not happen to me when I was younger? Why didn't I wake up when in my early 20s or in my early 30s, like some people are, like people like Jay Shetty have done, right? But I think that I've had to go through that journey of trauma, picking myself up, to actually build the resilience and build the knowledge within me to get a better understanding of what it is, right? I think there's a time and place for everything. So to your point, James, looking back, and from that point forward, I literally, on the flight back from Frankfurt, and since that day, I've been having aha moments where I go to myself, oh, that's why it happened. And so, you know, when you think about the year's gap when I didn't apply for Microsoft, I had expectations every year I applied. Yeah, so Reverend Michael Beckwith talks about, you know, the law of attraction as being a wishing well. When you throw the coin in the wishing well, you walk away, you forget about it, and your wish may come true a day, 2 days, 2 months, 3 years, 10 years later, but you have no attachment to that wish you made in the well. It's exactly the same thing, right? The moment I detached myself from the expectation, the universe said, "Oh, you're ready now."
I do. Okay, so here's my only issue with the law of attraction. Okay, I completely agree with you. And again, I think the mind is a very powerful thing. But I also think it requires action as well.
Totally.
So so what I'm interested in is from that day where you said to your family, I'm going to meet him, to the day that you got on stage with him, there must have been actions you took along that way that affirmed what you really wanted.
I agree. I know, totally. I agree. You know what? I think, you know, and you know what? I'm glad you said that, Joe, because many people think, yeah, the law of attraction, I'm going to make a wish and I'm just going to sit back and chill out and, you know, play Call of Duty or FIFA and just, you know, the world's going to deliver. It ain't going to happen, because you're right. You need to.
Yeah, sorry, just with my view on this is why for 99% of people, it doesn't work. Because like I said, everyone says they want it, but only the 1 or the 2% actually take action. Thoughts are nothing without action. And only a very small percentage of people are willing to put the work and put the effort in that affirms what they actually say that they want. So, yeah.
No, I agree. Earl Nightingale says that, you know, thoughts are the foundation that create the movement to actually lead us to our goal. Yeah. So, you know, it's important, you know, and even, you know, you look back at what Mahatma Gandhi says, you know, our thoughts define who we are. Not only they define who we are, but they also define the action we take. Nothing's going to happen unless you move. Nothing's going to happen unless you take action. It's simply like, you know, you want to go to the gym, right? You ain't gonna get there by just sitting on your ass and, you know, sipping and having a Big Mac and a milkshake. You've actually got to put your shorts on. I remember one. I had you know, James knows this. I know a well-known sort of British retired Olympic athlete, and I asked him that, you know, how do you motivate yourself now that you're retired? How do you motivate yourself to get outside in the gym, right? Because this has been your career. Now you've got to do it for fun. And he said, one step at a time. The first thing I do is I take my pajamas off and I put my shorts on. Number one. Then I'll go and put my t-shirt on. Maybe walk around for 10, 15 minutes. Then I'll go and put my socks and my trainers on. And I'm like, well, shit, I've got to get ready now. I've got to go out for a run. And he said, that's kind of as simple as that. You have to take action, small bits of action. You know, every action we take, it could be picking up that book to learn a little bit more once I watch The Secret. Watching it over and over again and seeing that, you know, researching these people and what they've done, and actually knowing that, okay, Bob used to clean toilets when he was a kid, right? Literally, that's how his life started. He used to have a toilet brush, a sponge, and some cleaner. That was his life. And that's where PGI Institute has come about from. So, you know, Jack Canfield, that wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, used to write on the back of Post-it notes and the back of cereal boxes, and that's how his life began. And now he's got a book that sold millions, billions of copies worldwide. So you're right, 100%. You have to take action. You know, I remember when I got the call for my interview at Microsoft, I was actually I was signed off for 6 months. I was working at a management consultancy firm, and I was signed off for 6 months because I got hepatitis D and jaundice. So I had severe gut poisoning, not food poisoning, gut poisoning, after a trip from India. So I was flat out. Anything I put in my stomach wouldn't stay. Water, forget it. Best part of my life is I lost tons of weight. Never lost that much weight again.
Who needs a PT, eh, James?
but a totally bad experience. But that's when I got the call to have my interview at Microsoft, and I was like, my mind was like, I can't even get out of bed, let alone put on a suit and shave and go to Reading. I was living in Hillingdon, so that was like an hour and a half hour's journey. Couldn't drive, but I did it. I got in a taxi. I remember having sort of 4 cups of coffee in the morning just to kind of wake me up, and a bar of dairy milk, so I could get that energy going. It was, for some reason, it was the only thing that I could keep was coffee. I did an 8-hour interview, fell asleep in the cab on the way back, and my wife's trying to phone me. She's worried sick. I get home, she goes, "You've got to go back tomorrow." I went, "What for?" She goes, "They've offered you the job."
Wow.
And I was literally, I said, and I just went to bed. I was just I was absolutely fatigued, absolutely tired. But you've got to take, the thing is, you've got to take action. And that was, my mind was stronger than my body. And it said, this is what you've wanted. Yeah. This is what you applied for 9-10 years. And now you've got the chance. You've got to take it.
So it's taking action, but it's also being in the right place at the right time. Like you said, with the dojo and everything else, then everything comes together.
Yeah, totally.
And again, and with that, I mean, I'm also a strong believer of talking about being in the right place in the right time. And you always get people that moan, "Oh, he's so lucky. Oh, she's so lucky." My view on this is the harder that you work and the more times you put yourself out there and you put yourself in those situations, the more chances you've got of being lucky. So again, the right place, right time. Don't get me wrong, some people do get very lucky, and I've been very lucky with certain things in the past if I actually look back, but a lot of it really comes down to hard work.
Yeah, fortune favors the brave, right?
Yeah.
It's like another one we follow, and I know you do as well, Vikas, Tony Robbins, is saying that you haven't made it happen yet. You haven't acquired that skill yet. You need to go and acquire that skill. It's just all about acquiring these skills to become the person that we want to become. Go on.
Yeah, and no, you're absolutely right. Like, you know, one of the things that, you know, that the likes of Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, Bob Proctor, everything that they talk about. And the funny thing is that the one thing they always say is that, you know, we're a product of our environment, and our environment, especially for sort of, if we look at the UK education system, and I don't want to diss it. I don't want to in any way, you know, it's given me the foundation, it's given many of us the foundation where we are today. Problem is, though, is that it is still based on what was put together at the Industrial Revolution, right? The bell goes, you walk in, the bell goes, you can't put your hand up at school, you can't argue with the teacher, you can't question, you're told when your break is, you're told when your lunch is, you're told when to go home, you do homework, and repeat. There's very little opportunity for personal growth, for mindset growth in schools nowadays. You know, I had this conversation with my son, my youngest, and he said, "Okay, yeah, Dad, we do it." I said, "When?" I said, "Oh, during assembly." He said, "What, 5 minutes? 5 minutes of personal development? Of, you know, you read all these books about growth mindset, you think about psychology, you know, none of that's taught nowadays." And one thing that Tony Robbins, everyone says now, that education doesn't stop when we get our degree or when we wear the gown. That's when it really starts. Yeah. That's when it truly starts. So you have to consistently learn. You have to consistently grow, because, you know, your brain is the thing that never ages. It's the one, and you know, it's scientifically proven. The brain doesn't age, right? Even when the body's dead, the brain is still functioning, you know, based on electricity that's in the body, right? So the brain never ages. So you have to constantly feed it as well, in order for it to stay alive, in order for it to grow, in order for you to grow. Yeah, you have to constantly feed it, and that comes from, as you said, James, learning new skills, putting yourself out there. Joe, to your point, challenging yourself, so that you can create your luck, or at least realize that luck is there, because sometimes luck stares us in the face. We're blind, we don't see it because we're not educated. We don't have the skills, we don't have the mindset.
Something that you spoke to us about, and you're very open about, is the start of your journey where you had episodes of depression. I know you're very open about this. What was that like? You know, what enabled you to come through the other side as well?
I think first and foremost, it was, I only realized later in my life that at that point in time, I was going through depression. So, you know, typically within our culture, within the Asian culture, Indian culture, depression is not something that's talked about, right? It's like it's put under the rug, whether you're a guy, whether you're a girl, and it just happens. Oh yeah, because the whole idea of you have a close knit family, you're a joint family, it just gets put under the rug. And I know a few Irish friends as well. They're very similar culturally because they're very tight knit families. They think that if you've got a tight knit family, you're fine. But the problem is that depression is something we all deal with. Everyone is going through it, and it's the realization of it that enables us to take action. I think for me personally, knowing later in life that I was going through at that point enabled me to kind of think, oh right, okay, so that was depression. I know in some certain points of my life, I actually took drastic action, which I shouldn't have done. I almost kind of thought of myself as being, you're stupid, mate. Why did you do that? But obviously I'm older. When you're older, you kind of got a little bit more sense. You've got a little bit more awareness. You can say that to yourself. If I look back, I think if I had the support mechanism available to me, or if we've had the strength to say to someone, help me, my life would have taken a different course of action, I think. Yeah. I think it's really important nowadays that we do address this as quickly as possible, especially for us guys, right? We don't tend to be very open about depression. Mental health amongst the male gender is far higher than what's actually been put out in the press. Yeah. I was part of a charity a couple of years ago with Colin Jackson called Go Dad Run. And the charity was focusing on two key things: prostate cancer and mental health. Colin's has been a victim to both in his family, and it was something that was quite dear to him. And he said it's something that it's taboo. Forget it. And actually, regardless of color, amongst our gender, it's something that's taboo, because the last thing we want to do is stand up, especially if we're the breadwinner, if we're our family looking up to us. We don't want to say I'm suffering from depression, because that's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And I actually think nowadays we need to be more aware of that, because it actually is a sign of strength if we can be honest and say it, stand up and say that actually, I'm going through this shit at the moment and I need help.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would your advice be to someone that is feeling something isn't right, but doesn't actually know if they're depressed or not? Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense, because I think if I look back, I was one of those people that didn't know it was depression. Like I said, only later in my life when I look back, I realized, I was going through depression. My personal advice would be, if I had to go back and tell the 18-year-old version of me or the 24-year-old version of me when I went through those points of my life, I would actually go back and actually, say to him that, look, you need to go and speak to someone. Yeah. Go and speak to your GP. Go and speak to someone neutral. Go and find someone. There are so many people out there that can help you, that can support you. Don't be the one, or speak to someone you love. Talk to the person you love the most and you respect the most, and actually share this, because it's important that we do. The more we keep it inside of us, the more of that emotion and that feeling and that state that we bottle up within us, later in life it turns into anger, it turns into it becomes evil within you. It eats you up over time, and it can stop you from doing the thing that you're meant to do, from living life, from truly enjoying life, from having a relationship, from being completely, I think, committed to the relationship in the moment. I think definitely seek help, no matter how big, no how small. It starts with one simple step. First of all, admitting that you have a problem. And I think that's the first step. You've got to admit the fact that you have a problem. And if you don't, if you're unsure, definitely seek help in both occasions. If you are unsure, go and ask someone. Go and speak to your GP, speak to the Citizens Advice Bureau, speak to someone that, that can help you, because, for everything that the NHS are doing now, even pre-COVID, we're very lucky in this country to have this, right? A service where we can go and talk to someone and say, I'm suffering from mental health, or I think I'm going through depression.
I can certainly relate to that, where it all really builds from that acceptance point. And that's what I found with myself as well. So I can certainly relate to that. But you've made huge strides with your own journey to a position now where you're consulting others with mindset coaching now, aren't you? Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially with coronavirus and everything else that's going on right now, still contemporary. What are you doing differently to make sure that you're still on top of this moving forward?
So I used to hate daily rituals, right? I used to think they were a waste of time. I used to think that, oh, what's the point? But I've got into the habit now over the last 2.5, 3 years to practice gratitude. And the funniest thing is, and it has totally changed my life, because I used to be grateful for silly things like, oh, grateful I've got a car, or grateful I've got, now I'm more grateful about me and my inner self. I'm grateful for things like my health and well-being. I'm grateful that, that I have the power to understand what I need to let go of, because I've grown as a person, what I need to release. I think gratitude is, so many people say, you've got to practice gratitude, you've got to practice gratitude. I think gratitude comes from, it's a feeling. You've got to feel it. And it's something that that no one can take away from you, because whatever you're grateful for is personal to you. So I practice gratitude every morning. I write a prayer. I've got an abundance prayer that my coach has given me. I write that down as well, and I recite it during the day. I meditate. And I do any form of exercise, and I mix that up. I'll either do some yoga, or I'll take the dog for a run. Quite fortunate, we've got land behind the house in between us and the golf course, where he can go free and I can run with him, and he can run as well. Any form of movement, I think, is important in the morning. I mean, James, you'd advocate to that as well. Even if you're going to get up in the morning and blare your music out and dance, I think it's really important, because your body is flat throughout the night, and needs, some cases it stiffens overnight, but you need to just get up and just release it and get those endorphins going. Robin Sharma, who does the 5 a.m. club, talks about the fact that 20 minutes of exercise in the morning releases more adrenaline than a 3-hour run during the day, because of the state of mind. Our mind is so relaxed at that point. So yeah, I do that every day, and that gets me going. I listen to a podcast, tons of podcasts. Sorry, James.
A really interesting one I just picked up on what you just said there is that somewhere in there you just said, I listen to my coach. And for someone who's at the top of their game, mentoring other people, you still invest in yourself, and you have a coach yourself, which I think is really cool.
I do. Cool. Yeah, and my coach has a coach who has a coach. Right. So it's the thing is that we all learn from, we have the opportunity, and we have the fortune to learn from as many people as we can, and everyone has a different way of thinking about it. The funny thing is, my coach is almost half my age, but so wise in her ways that I'm sort of like sometimes spellbound by how much knowledge she has. But her purpose is to share it with the world, and it's the funny thing is, and that's how I align to her, because my purpose is exactly the same. Is I want to positively impact as many people as I can. And coming back to the earlier point I made about and I think you mentioned that as well, James, about having new skills and learning, like as Tony Robbins says, you've got to constantly learn new skills. I think you constantly got to educate yourself, to keep yourself going. And that's what I'm doing now. Listen to podcasts. I've watched The Secret all over again. Love it. I never used to read. I've now got tons and tons of books, like The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and reading The Power of a Superior Man. GoPro by Eric Ward to toughen my skills. The 7 Spiritual Laws by Dr. Deepak Chopra. I never used to read before. I used to read crime novels. I used to read Tom Clancy and Frank Herbert, and it used to take me a year to read a book. And I challenge myself to read 2 books a month. I just love it.
Well, you've got a new podcast to listen to now with us.
Yeah.
So,
definitely. Definitely.
So, okay. So for people that don't know, just explain to us what sort of mindset coaching is. So,
there are different forms of mindset coaching, and my personal sort of view of mindset coaching is is to an extent not necessarily rewiring the mind, but it's resetting the mind. And if you break mind up, it's where your mind is set. And if it's not helping you grow, if it's not helping you achieve or fulfill the life you want, you have an opportunity to reset your thinking and reset your mind. And that's the whole point of mindset coaching. And I base it on my experience and some of the tools, some of the tricks that I've taken on board over the course of my 25-year career. And the things that I've resonated, things that I've actually woken up to knowing that this has helped me, this hack has helped me grow, or this hack has accelerated my process to achieving this. That's what my mindset coaching is built on. Yeah. So I talk about abundance. I never used to meditate. My dad used to try and force meditation on me. And I think when something is forced on you, you're more likely to repel from it. But actually, when you have a fuller understanding of something, you're more likely to accept it and more likely to actually take it on board. So for me, it's, my program is looking at, first of all, I do an exercise of reflection. And that's looking back over as far back as you can go, and looking at the more than, I don't like calling it sort of failures. I like to call it learning stacks. If you think of like Thomas Edison, he talks about, someone said to him that, why are you still inventing light bulb? He said, well, I found 10,000 ways not to do it. Rather than saying 10,000 failures, I found 10,000 ways not to do it. So, the whole idea of anything we experience in life, any fallback we may have, or anything that didn't go our way, we can learn from that. We can learn from the mistakes we made if we're aware of it. Yeah. But also celebrate the small successes. So I do a program of reflection. I then do a program of reinvention. So now that we know the things that helped us along the way, the thing that the actions we took, the steps we took, the moments that gave us glory and led to success, we can repeat them. A lot of us think, that was then, it's not going to happen again. Well, it's rubbish. It can happen again if you want it to. Why was Sampras winning Wimbledon every year? Because he knew he could do it, right? Why is Nigel Hamilton one of the best, Formula One drivers since Ayrton Senna? Because he knew he could do it. He had a belief in it. All he saw was a finish line and just him crossing it. So, you can repeat success. And it's been proven. You take Real Madrid as a football team. I remember going to the Natural History Museum, and there was a whole video on what was Alex Ferguson's Man United at the time, when Sharp, Cantona, Beckham was a young player at the time. And it talked about the mind connection, how the players knew where all the other players were ahead of them. So they knew where to pass the ball. Every player always had 3 players to pass the ball to. That was the Man U that won trophies consistently. And that was, that's because of an understanding of how success fits. This is what success looks like for us, knowing that Cantona's there, Sharp is there, Giggs is on the other side, and that is something that we can emulate in our life. And so that's mindset. My idea of mindset coaching is knowing those facets of success that we've had in our life and repeating it, having an understanding of what steps I took to get there.
We had this on a different interview. I remember it's unconscious competence, isn't it? Where it just becomes autopilot.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Because our subconscious mind, listens to the smaller things, right? If you're going to say, I don't want to lose weight, or no, I don't want to gain weight, the thing that your subconscious understands is I don't. It's not going to understand lose. It's not going to understand gain. It's going to understand don't. And so it will always focus on the negative and the positive. It's the yin and the yang. So we need to feed the right information into our brain. So little things like, knowing that, having positive I am statements. We're a product of our environment, where our parents tend to tell us, you're not good at this. You're never going to get there. Or, there's a little one, actually, there's I can't remember his name, but there's a TED talk that this professor did, and his first name is Christopher. I cannot remember his second name for love or money. But he talks about how, from an early age, we program our kids to always, to always live in fear, right? And he gives an example of, when your child is 1 or 2 and they're standing on the second or third step, on the staircase, and they're about to jump because they think, that's, they're Superman. Kids, every kid does that, right? Every kid wants to jump. They see the step, they want to take a little leap. The first thing we say as parents is, don't do that, you're going to hurt yourself. We've just conditioned our child, or just conditioned the child to say, you're going to hurt yourself. They haven't experienced hurt yet. They haven't made things. I mean, they may jump and land on their feet and think, yeah, we should be saying, okay, go on, do that. Do one step first. There you go.
So we're making them risk adverse.
We're making them risk adverse. Yeah, totally risk adverse. Yeah. So, I think, we're a product of our environment. And coming back to my point about I am statements, having positive I am statements, that I am successful, I am fit and healthy, I am rich, I am wealthy, I am abundant, having those things every morning, writing those identity statements. That's one thing I do, is having positive identity statements down, is something that works. I tested this quite recently. So I was on a flight to Chicago back in October from work, and my coach said to me, okay, I want you to create a wonder statement. So I had these 10 wonder statements of what's happening over the next 3 months of my life that I knew. So I said, I wonder what it would feel like to fly business class. And then she said, no, I want you to be more specific. So I thought, okay, I know I'm going to Chicago in 20 days. So I said, I wonder what it would feel like to fly business class on my flight to Chicago in October. I'm standing, and this is God's honest truth. I'm standing in the queue, because I'm in front of my wife and telling her, I'm standing in the group 3 queue to get onto the BA flight. And I just, for some reason, my phone, I had to update the boarding pass because I'd lost it. So I updated on the app the boarding pass, and it said group 2. No, it just said group 3. Why am I in the group 2 queue? So I went to the group 2 queue. I didn't cotton to the fact that my seat number had changed. I was on seat 24A, it changed to 4A. I've been upgraded to business class. It was the weirdest sensation ever. And, it's kind of like, now I may not have written those wonder statements, that may have happened anyway, but I don't know that at the time. But it's because I wrote that down and I thought, shit, it actually happened. So, the whole idea is when you're open to these things, when you start to positively create that environment within you, things do start to happen, because I think you become more aware.
Gotcha. Powerful.
Yeah. With that, I am a big believer of what gets measured gets improved.
Mm-hmm.
That does start with writing goals down. That does start with writing down what it is that you actually want. And then I think subconsciously, whether you know it or not, you are going to focus more on it the minute you write that down.
Yeah.
Especially if you can see it on a regular basis as well.
Yeah. No, 100%. I got that. There's my journals are right here, and there's tons of them downstairs that I've already completed. I keep them. I love it because, like you say, Joe, going back to them and just reading through it and just seeing how you've changed, how you've grown as well. And I've seen that with my gratitude statements. I've grown. Like I said, I used to write stuff like, I'm grateful for my car, I'm grateful for my food, and obviously you have to be grateful for that. But then I started looking a bit deeper, and as I grew, I became more grateful for some of the deeper things in my life.
Fantastic. So what does the future look like for you, Vikas? What does it look like?
Well, I'm turning 50 this year, so massive milestone there. Was planning to go to Hawaii earlier in the year, but it's going to happen. I know it will. Maybe more aligned to my 50th. For me, very much looking forward to the coaching program, and I want to help as many people as I can in one way or another. I'm launching the program. First part of the launch is being launched this weekend, fingers crossed. I've written it down, so it should happen. And I think that's where the future for me is just, for me, I class it as, just living the most abundant version of myself in whatever form it comes in and wherever it takes me. I think if I look back, things have happened just knowingly through action I've taken, but sometimes subconscious action, the unknowing subconscious action, as you say, James. I think just living an abundant life and just helping as many people as I can.
Okay. So what advice would you give an 18-year-old Vikas Arora?
I'd tell him, don't worry, mate. It's going to happen. Don't worry. Don't worry. Definitely. One of the things I would say to myself is, and I didn't do this in my life, so I would tell myself to do this, is whenever you need help, go ask for it. Yeah. It's one thing I never did, and I started to do later in my life, and as a result, I've grown. So, and I think that's more around being humble and being honest to myself. And live in the moment. Just, cherish, definitely live in the moment. If I want to go out and run barefoot, in the middle of the road, freaking hell, I'll go and do it. So I think definitely, because life's too short. No one knew this was going to happen a year ago. None of us would have known this would happen. Although, we've seen some of the conspiracy shit that's hanging around with Obama and Trump, but nevertheless, Joe Public didn't know this was going to happen. So I don't want to look back. I think even now for everyone, you want to, whether lockdown is going to be whether the gates open in a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, a year, just take action, just enjoy your life, do what you want to do. Don't look back and think, shit, I wish I had done it then when I was working from home, when I was at home.
Yeah.
Totally take action now. You want to paint that room, paint that room. You want to knock that wall down, knock that wall down. You want to do the garden, whatever it is. You want to spend time with your kids, spend time with your kids.
Nice. Talking to kids, are the kids following your footsteps with the mindset coaching? Is that something that they believe in as well, or that they follow?
They do. So we have this. We do have days where sometimes the kids say, "Dad, not today." But my eldest is constantly sending us he'll say, "Dad, I listened to this podcast with Gary Vee. I think we should all listen to it." Or we all listen to Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. There's this amazing stuff with Joe Dispenza. Dad, you got to listen to this. So yeah, they do. My son's reading Growth Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. He's doing psychology, and so we always have these deep conversations.
Yeah,
sometimes too deep. But yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. It's funny how things rub off, actually, and it's the other way. The kids will say, "Dad, you got to watch this. You got to read this," or "Enough's enough."
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Love it. Love it. So where can the listeners find you? Where can they find you on social media, everywhere else?
I'm all over LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm about to go on to, dare I say it, TikTok as well.
No. You going to do some dances for us?
No dances. Mainly posts of the dog. So we've got a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, so he's my little baby. But yeah, no. There's not much mindset stuff on TikTok, and with the kind of audience that's there, I think there's a great opportunity. But yeah, I'm all over Instagram, so search with my name. I'm all over Facebook. So yeah.
What is your Instagram handle? Is it just your full name?
It's on Instagram. It's Vikas Arora 1. On Facebook, it's the same. If you search for Vikas Arora Business and Mindset, I've got 2 profiles on there. And also on LinkedIn, Vikas Arora. So yeah, pretty much the same handle. I try and keep it consistent where I can.
Yeah.
There are a few of us around the world, so sometimes the handle isn't the same.
I sent James a YouTube link the other day. I says, "Is this Vikas for me?" He's like, "No, mate."
No. Not on YouTube yet. Hopefully. Yeah, one day.
Yeah, we'll put all the links to all your handles in bio as well, so people can find you.
Perfect. I'll do that, definitely. But no, I'm great to be a part of the community. We'll share what I can.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll share tons of stuff. No, thank you very much for the opportunity, guys.
Yeah, fantastic. Nice. Have a great day.
You too, guys.
Cheers.
Bye now.
Take care.